Hello, everybody. My name is Landon, and I actually wanted to do something I haven't done before. Well, I've done it before a long time ago. I actually want to start a series where I design, um, I guess cars. And so, yeah, we'll get started. And so, just a little backstory. Um, the name of my company is actually going to be Elesbe. That is spelled Elesbe. And basically, it's going to be a Croatian company. I have it started in Croatia. It's kind of like, I guess, the lore created for it, but it entered the American market for the 1955 model year. So everything I'm designing, since I live in America, I'm just going to go from there. This is going to be basically just the American side of the company. And so we're going to start with 1955. And the vehicle I wanted to start with is so eventually I'd like for it to become sort of like a hybrid. It's kind of like modern day Mazda. You know, um, they're focused on they're more like drivers cars, if you will. Where basically they're it's the perfect middle ground between normal commuter cars like Honda and Toyota, and then full-on performance cars like BMW. They're still mainstream cars. They're still affordable, but they focus more for like driving enthusiasts and people that appreciate driving. And that's where I ultimately like to lead to. But just to get the foot in the door in the American market, we will have to make normal, I guess, commuter cars first. And the first model, I actually want to call it the Courtega. It's actually named after a watch line for a company called Seiko. I've had a few other watches, are good watches. I've never had a Courtega, but I just think it's a good name for a car. And it'll run from 1955 to 1959. That'll be, I guess, sort of the first generation. And the car I benchmarked was the Chevy Bel Air, which was in this time period that was Chevrolet's, entry level family car. These days they are highly sought after collectibles, but back then they were just cheaply made family cars, and so that's what we are going to do. Um, and I have done a few designs just playing around. This was the body style I liked. Wheelbase, we'll make it big. American cars were really big back then, especially family cars. All right, so for panels, we're gonna make it steel. Most cars are steel. And for the chassis, it's gonna be a ladder. A lot of cars this era used ladder chassis. And again, we're gonna make that steel. And now we want it to be rear-wheel drive, like most cars this size are and were. So we want the engine to be longitudinal, which means it goes like this. Front suspension, we want it to be double wishbone. That's the only independent suspension option in 1955 model year. You know, that's what a lot of cars were back then. And for rear, we want that to be solid, obviously. We're going to do coil, just because it's actually slightly better. That'd be a way to sort of differentiate ourselves. All right. And I would like this to be a two-door because most cars back then were two doors, even family cars that sat four people. Most of them were actually two doors. It was just an American trend back then. Now the door line actually went. It's called the B pillar. It actually went a lot further back, but this game it's kind of weird with the options it gives you. Um, so we're just gonna, I guess, have to pretend it goes back that far. All right, so I'm done with that. Now I am going to start with the fixtures. And now, see, I don't know much about cars in this era. It's just not my forte. So I'm just going to try to make it just a generic 50s looking car. Then I do want to do a custom grille design as well. Probably just horizontal slots. That's what a lot of cars back then had as well. We want the outline to be chrome because that was just the trend back then. Everything was chrome. Now, when I do chrome, when I do grill slots, I actually like to use this bumper. I go to bumpers and I use this one right here because I find it works really well. That's my favorite thing about it. Well, thought it did. So let's try body molding. Hmm. Yes, the nice thing about body molding is that it actually goes under the edge of whatever fixture you put it in. So it makes grill slots easy because you don't have to get it perfectly lined up. You can just run it under. It's not going to be that big of a deal. I do want it to not be as. I want it to be a little thicker than that, probably. Oh, that's good. We're going to make them chrome. And then now behind my grills, I like to put intercoolers because again they look like radiators, and most cars have radiators in the back or behind the grill. So again, I think it just makes it look more realistic. We're gonna move it up. We're gonna push it behind, and then we are going to scale it up so it takes up the full grill. Down and then bam. You see that it just looks better than having just clear empty void. And so next we want to do the front indicators. Very simple, not many choices. Probably just these because they're basic. We'll put them right there. Again, this first car is going to be really basic. All right, and now now it's time to move on to I think I got the front pretty much done. Actually, no, I do want to put a logo. Again, the company is Elesbe, and I guess our logo was just our name because I haven't designed that logo. Plus, I don't really like any of the ones in the game, anyways. So, that looks good right there. I got the headlights, indicators. Again, it's just I wish I could put a lot of passion in this design, but I don't know much about these older cars. So now it's time to move on to the side. But I do want to do windshield wipers. I am back, and now it's time to put some paint on it. And I'm actually going to do flakeless paint or non-metallic because a lot of cars back then didn't have metallic paint. It was actually cheaper not to do metallic paint either. And I'm actually going to try to make a burgundy. I got a hex code for a burgundy color I want to try. It is 800, or sorry, 8020. I've actually seen a really old Volvo from the 50s that had this kind of burgundy paint as one of its color options, and I kind of liked the way it looked. So, I wonder if I can make it lighter. How would I do that? Yeah, I might just leave it there actually. I would want it to be a little lighter, kind of like that, kind of like a candy apple red. I think that really fits this style of car. And for the taillights, I tried to do a lot of cars back then had really weird taillights, and I'm not like one of these expert makers. I keep saying I work with what I know. So I tried to hide that, but I really couldn't. So that's the tail light, the brake lights in here. The tail lights kind of like this strip. Because personally, I like to keep tail lights and brake lights separate. I think that's how they should be. In fact, I'm pretty sure in the European Union, they are legally required to be a separate bulb. In North America, they are not, and I think it's just a terrible design. And then, of course, the indicator is separate, and then I have the reverse lights down here. And then obviously that's the keyhole for the trunk. Of course, on an old car like this, you would get three keys. You get one for the ignition, one for the doors, and then one for the trunk. So back in the old days, you had to keep track of three keys. And I did these things just, I don't know, maybe it looks stupid, I don't know, but try to fill in some space right here. I kind of like that. It's like a nice candy apple red. Now it's time for the wheels. All right, that covers that. Now it's time to get on to the engine. We're going to get rear wheel. I do want to give all my engines family names. Can I have real manufacturers do it? So we're going to make my very first one called the Apollo family. And now how I want my nomenclature to be. It's going to be first character represents the family, so A for Apollo. The next two will be displacement. I want this to be 3.8 liter in line 6. So it's going to be 38 for 3.8, then 6 for inline 6. We're going to do inline 6, cast iron, obviously. Now, a lot of cars there had really long strokes, so we're going to do, oops. And let's do 96 millimeter. Then we'll bring up the bore just to bring up the displacement to 3.8. And we're going to do push rod, obviously. Let's do iron. Let's bring up the quality because it just makes it easier to get realistic numbers, I feel like. And now for the crank, we're going to do forged steel. For the connecting rods, forged pistons. The cast light. All right. I'll make a pressure ratio of 6.5. Um, a lot of older cars had really low compression ratios because gasoline was just such poor quality. Um, it produced, it's called pre-detonation or knock. So it keeping the compression ratio low helped reduce. Cam profile, we're going to make it super low. Or start out with 20. Now, I don't have a horsepower goal. I have just a 0 to 60 time. That's kind of how I do my cars. I design them. So I want a 0 to 60 to be about 12 seconds. So I'm just going to tune the engine how I need it to be to get there. Aspiration natural. It's going to be carbureted, obviously. Mm, Let's do two barrel, single, bring up the quality. And now in the 50s, everything was lead. So standard mid. Yeah, single exhaust, obviously. No catalytic converter. Doesn't even give us the option. Reverse, reverse. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. All right, so I'm just going to leave it there for now. Then I will tweak it as I have to. And that's it. All right, now it's time to do the fun stuff. I want to be a manual 3-speed. Hmm. We'll keep it there for now. Diff open. Yeah. And I do have a tire size I want to use because I wrote down just a popular tire sizes in this era. I'm gonna leave gearing right there for now. We're gonna go to the radial. Actually, let's do crossfly. A lot of cars use crossfly in this era. And the size I want to use, obviously it's measured differently. Um, this is using the metric sizing, and it is 205 75 15. Yeah, I just don't like how big that looks. All right, yeah, we'll leave it there. And for the brakes, we want to be drummed all the way around. I believe that is better for the front, better for the rear. And we want none of that. Interior, it's our old car, so it's going to be, let's do standard actually. And let's do AM radio. That's what most cars were. It's a 5-seater, so 2 in the, actually, let's do 3 in the front because it's going to be a column shifter. It's a 3-speed, so you can get away with fitting 6 people in this. Now for this, it's going to be power steering with a ball, called recirculating ball. Standard 50s suspension. We're going to do 22 passive. Now I'm going to get rid of sway bars because they're just overpowered in this game. Ride height looks good to me. How do you want to bring the comfort? Do you want to bring the dampers down? I want it to be maximum comfort. That's what I want. Now that's pretty good. Comfort's pretty high. That probably says, yeah. Gearbox reliability. Now we need to address the gearbox. You see, I don't know what gearing was like in the 90s. Or, sorry, the 50s. Hmm. Typically, bringing the top speed of first gear up helps with reliability because it keeps the range between your first gear and last gear affects gearbox reliability both in real life and in this game, which is what this game tries to simulate. Front tires are wider, rear tires are wider. Now that 0 to 60 is actually a lot faster than I thought. I'm aiming for a range of 12. Um, you know, because I think that'd be more realistic. So I'm actually going to bump down the power on the engine a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So I guess I don't know much about these old cars, so I guess that's a acceptable range. Now to kind of go back to the engine. So we're at 140 horsepower. Let's go down. Actually, let's put standard heads on because for one, it'll be cheaper. 3. Carburetor. Let's put single barrel to get another cheaper and it will reduce power. Oh yeah, that's way down. 9.7. Hmm. 11, 9.9. You see, it's funny because the V8 Chevy Bel Air actually got a 0 to 60 time of less than 10 seconds. So I don't like how this inline 6 is quicker to 60 than a V8 of the same era. Oh my god, I know it is just a game, so they probably can't get the, I guess, physics exactly right. Let's take cams down to 5. 10. So that's, see, it brings torque way up. That's the benefit of having low profile cams. 9.9. Hmm. Maybe if I bump it down to 3.6. 10.3. Oh, what else can I do to bring power down? We want to, is it going to raise power? Yeah, we'll put it there. The system, single barrel, single carb. Yeah. 10.4. We're getting there. We're getting closer. 10.4. La 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 la. Hmm. I guess, I mean, I've always wanted to be kind of sporty. I guess I just have to be quick. 10.5. There's not an overdrive. Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's, yeah, I guess I'll just have to live with that. And so the engine is actually 3.6. From up at this therm called Apollo A366. And yeah, that about does it. Yeah, I believe we are ready to import this into BeamNG and derive it. So I am back. I added an exhaust, so that is proper. And I also tweaked the suspension a little bit. I made the dampers just a little bit softer, so it is a little more bouncy. Because cars from this era tend to be a little bouncy. But so I actually already drove it the first time. This will not be a first impression because I did it, but I messed up the audio. Did not get my system audio, so you can actually hear the noises BeamNG was making. All right, so first we're gonna start it up. And like last time, I tried to make the rotating assembly in the engine heavier, so it had a little more inertia, but it's still really responsive. I'm pretty sure that's more responsive than engines from this era typically were. But anyways, it's not that big of a deal. But actually, what I want to do is I want to get traffic. Yeah, so the wheels are really, they don't have much grip. Like, you spin out even when you don't want to. And I did mess up the taillights because I wanted these to be the taillights and this to be the brake light. For some reason, I think I got it backwards. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I got it backwards. And I am blocking this guy. I am so sorry. So there's those tires. Very poor grip. This is a 3-speed, and you can see the interior view is. I didn't do an interior, but you can still sit in it. I don't know why you would want to, but we're gonna get around the highway. Well, as soon as this guy turns, for some reason he's not. Let's see what she does. After we spin wheels. That's no problem. Sounds like a really positive. The damage model on these automation cars is not the best. Let's try that again. It's very loose. Tires are not good. They don't have very good grip at all. I don't think that's realistic. Yeah. It has no grip. That's why I was brakes can be locked out. Front and rear super easy. On this again. Actually, no, we're not going to call it there. Actually, yeah, we're going to call it there. All right, anyways, thank you for watching. If you have anything negative to say, please say it. Anything positive to say, please say it. If you have any tips on how to make a car from this era more realistic, I'd appreciate it. I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to cars this old, but thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.